Welcome back to the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased, except ours. Of course, I am Colin.
Maybe I'm Craig.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not Daniel.
And after our little hiatus, we decided to come back and talk about the newest and possibly biggest box office bomb of all time, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. At least Craig and I, and Daniel a couple times throughout our episodes leading up to this point, we'd always talk about how much of a bad idea it was to do this. And I, for one, didn't hate the movie. I guess let's just jump into it. What do you guys think?
I didn't like it. I thought it was bad. Not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, but still pretty bad, boring, waste of time.
Yes, I think it was pretty long.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't like it at all.
Oh, jeez.
I'll just say it right now. I fell asleep during it multiple times.
That's fair. It is
And when did you
very.
watch it that
Oh,
late?
yeah.
I know that, but that's just how boring it was. It put me to sleep.
It is very, very, very long. It is 2.5 hours. It's 154 minutes long. I saw it in the theaters, and a bunch of times throughout the movie, at least 5 or 6 times, I would check my phone to see what time it was. Because I'm like, this thing is just dragging. It should be worth saying that it is the worst Indiana Jones movie by far. And the people who say Crystal Skull is worse, I don't know how you can come to that conclusion unless you hate George Lucas that much.
Well, yeah, a lot of people who, people seem to have this real hatred for George Lucas for ruining their childhood for some reason. You can't really ruin someone's childhood through a movie like this, but especially with a movie like this, which is like 10 times worse, but whatever, like kind of like you said.
It's not Disney's Star Wars level bad, but
Oh
I
no.
think, well, no, at least they treated him with more respect than like Han Solo or Luke.
True.
They at least did that. They didn't desecrate his character too much. But I guess let's talk about what I think are the biggest complaints I have is obviously length. I think the opening is way, way, way too long. It's over 20 minutes long. That is too much. The Harrison Ford, also the de aging, looked pretty bad.
Oh, I remember a community where we watched it and we were like laughing when we saw him running on the train.
Yeah.
It didn't look great, but
Yeah,
also it's clearly an old man running. Like it doesn't look like some adventurer in his
yeah,
40s. It was clearly old Harrison Ford running
His
with
and yeah,
sad.
voice. Yeah.
yeah, his voice was modern day Harrison
It
Ford.
was 80-year-old Harrison Ford looking like Harrison Ford from The Fugitive. He's like, Hitler's losing. It's like they definitely could have done something to fix his voice because it's also the uncanny valley, as you guys I'm sure are aware that it teeters on that line where it looks really fake, but you just don't know why it looks bad. You could just tell that it looks off.
I mean, to me, it was the eyes. Like the eyes always seemed off.
I think it was just the whole face. It looked fine in the trailer because he wasn't talking. As soon as he started talking, it looked really bad.
Yeah, I think that and or when his whole body, like when he physically was doing something, because you could clearly tell it was just like you had said, Craig. Like it's an 80-year-old man moving.
It's like when they DH Samuel L. Jackson, Captain Marvel. He was
Yeah,
like
same
running
thing.
around.
Like clearly, doesn't matter how much makeup you put on him, he's still gonna move like an old
Did you
man.
guys ever see that clip from The Irishman where they DH Robert De
I saw
Niro?
the movie. Yeah,
Oh, he's like curb stomping somebody, but you can clearly tell it's an old man doing that.
he just curb stomp somebody. He
Well,
like
he's
threw the
kicking
guy out of
someone's
the
face in. Yeah, he's like kicking somebody.
Like
yeah,
I
but
just
he
don't
threw
get
him
it.
out of the store. Like it didn't look good either.
I just don't get at that point. Just have like a stunt. Just have someone else fill in for him to do the action. Just digitalize his face onto that person and roll with it.
Yeah, and also they could have easily just not have it be that long. Like
I
the
don't
whole
think he
I would
needed it.
sequence.
I would even I was saying to Craig, I just think that whole opening scene was on. I think they should just cut it. You should have just went right to modern day 1969 with old Indy. I, I don't think it was necessary. And also too, like another thing that Craig you and I were laughing at was when the main bad guy, the main Nazi, he gets clocked by
Yes.
by that telephone post on the train, and they don't address it. It was like there was no scar on his face. It was just like he was perfectly fine. I was like,
Yeah, you
that guy
think
was
there'd be
dead.
like at least a dent in his head or something. He looked like like imagine if he looked like Hammerhead from Spider-Man. He has like this disgusting disfigurement on his face. But he just looks like a regular guy with longer hair.
No, it does not like a regular. No, like literally, he was a regular. Like nothing had happened to him. Which I mean, also you see the trailer, he's at the end of the movie. So like, well, why even have that?
Why can't they just like kick him off the train or something? Why
or,
is they
or
make it
if
Well,
so
any,
even
or if
violent?
I think it makes more logic that he just gets arrested by the troops, and then they follow the kind of more historical fact that they just used Nazi scientists, and then he helped build the rockets. Like I think that's just an easier solution.
Yeah, I agree. I think it dragged on too long. 'Cause let's talk about where we first see Indy. We see Indy in like a castle in a town about to get hung, and then a big torpedo or big missile destroys the whole thing.
it was a bomb.
Yeah, bomb, sorry. And then he ends up on a train. It's just too much.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think maybe like if you just do the first part of like he escapes and stuff, like you just don't need the train sequence. I think it just would have fit better if they just got right into like modern day indie, and then they just kind of introduce these characters as you go along. Maybe you could do flashbacks and
Well, I
stuff like
guess they
that. I don't
wanted
think you.
that. They wanted that opening sequence because all the other
Well, they
ones have one.
they wanted, yeah, they wanted to do the nostalgia factor.
Well, no, it's just
You
every
know,
indie movie starts with an action
yeah.
sequence, but it's just this one was just way too long. And I guess that was
And also,
a big
it's an
problem with all the
80-year-old.
other. Yeah, yeah, it is an 80-year-old man too.
Yeah.
I actually laughed when they first showed Indy shirtless Harrison Ford in his 80s. Or I should say modern day Indy. And he goes down with a baseball bat to his hippie neighbors, threatening to beat them up. That got a chuckle out of me.
Well, I mean, also that like, why do you have to show him like basically in his like underwear? Because to me,
Yeah,
it looks like an old confused man was thrown onto the set. Like
he just
I don't
wandered
doesn't.
there.
I was like, hey, you're back in the war.
You beatniks!
Yeah, like he could,
Not a good
they
look.
could have they could have just give him like old grandparent like sweatpants.
Or he could have just been like, yeah, in pants and a white t-shirt. Literally not in his boxers and socks.
Yeah, I feel like they didn't even like that wasn't a
That's
sign
for
for
the
him to be.
women.
I
Yeah.
bet
I
Craig was
don't even think
laughing
that
when
was
that
a
happened.
sign. I don't even think that was a sign for him to be like sleeping in the chair. Like they just got to set and he was already passed out in that chair. Like, all right, yeah, we'll just roll.
Harrison? Harrison action? Ugh. He just grabbed the bat because he was mad.
Like Shia, where is he?
Where's that kid? And I think,
No, 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 he didn't die. Actually, no, it's in the script. Don't worry.
okay, so I guess I'll talk about that. Where obviously they killed off Shia LaBeouf off screen.
I hate it.
Yeah, it seemed like they wanted to destroy anything that the Crystal Skull did. It seemed it was kind of like it was like sabotage at this point. It felt like.
Well, to me, it was like not even that. It just felt mean spirited. Like, because all these movies now, like the heroes have to be broken. They have like all their children are dead. They're like left. It's like literally they have nothing in their lives now. Like, I'm really trying to like beat these people down.
Trying to beat this old man up.
It's mean spirited because you could have just said, he was off doing something or he couldn't contact him, right? Like, there's no reason to kill him
Or they
unless you're
just
doing
stopped
it.
talking to each other.
His son had a family and anything else. Like so, whatever excuse that he wasn't there. Could have literally just said he was raising kids, and like he didn't want to talk to Indy. I don't know.
Or I'm saying, or maybe he didn't because he didn't contact Mary. And like, there's no one he could talk to. He was being hunted for murder that he apparently did, which doesn't lead to anything. But
Yeah, that doesn't
Yeah,
even
that
get
was.
resolved. They just kind of forget about it.
which I have a reason later we'll bring up. But
So
yeah,
I
it's me.
guess
I just don't like it. It's mean spirited. There's no reason to do it. It's I think just to kill off Mutt, so there's no shot at a male replacing Indy, so you finally have your female to replace him.
Well, they're
And
definitely not
that's
going to do that now.
But I think that's the reason. I think they wanted the Kathleen Kennedy stand-in to replace the male hero.
Which
Because
I
Mutt would
guess,
have made more sense.
yeah, I guess we'll talk about that later. Should we just talk about Phoebe Waller-Bridge now?
I hate her.
I didn't think she was that bad in the movie.
She was basically Belloc.
Oh yes, yes.
And
Except
Indy's like, well, you're my goddaughter. We have no relationship. I really care for you. It's like, why? Why do you care for her so much?
hasn't spoken to her in 18 years.
Yeah, she showed up. He had no idea what she looked like.
other than that, though, I
Right.
thought also the little sidekick that was with her was pretty bad. The unibrow
He
kid.
was yeah he yeah he was so unnecessary. I
I
guess
mean,
they were trying to do like a modern short round, which just was a horrible attempt.
there was a setup and payoff at least with the airplane. Even though why would a kid be flying an airplane? What sense does that make?
Also, how would he
Yeah, how
know
would he
how to fly
learn?
an airplane?
Yeah,
Because like I can see like how short round. All he did was he drove a car,
but he
which isn't
wasn't.
that.
Yeah, he wasn't good at it either.
But still, like all he did was drive a car. Like driving a car is very easy. Like to fly a plane, you would need some sort of practice. Like driving a car is easy to practice. How do you practice driving a plane? You can't like hotwire it. And just what are you gonna do? Like if you don't know how to do it, how are you gonna land properly?
Well, he did hotwire it, I think, at the end.
Well,
He's-
what I mean is like you can't like get easy practice
Oh
with
no, I know
it.
what you mean. Yeah, yeah. It's not like you could just walk
Yeah,
up to the airfield and
yeah,
just fly around.
yeah. This kid, they should have like
Stupid.
if yeah, the kid was like a petty thief, and now he's flying a plane at the end.
So, Craig, what
Like
did you really dislike about the movie?
Well, basically everything. Nothing was good about it.
Oh God. I guess I'm more lenient on it because I love Indiana Jones a lot.
Well, I do. I like Indy. Maybe not as much as you, but I like it. That's why I. This is such like a slap in the face.
Oh, it 100% is, and I think the movie doesn't justify it existing at all. But I'm
If
at
anything, it
least
makes things worse.
yeah, but at
Colin,
least they didn't
Colin,
ruin him entirely. They got rid of Mutt. They made him look like a bum with Marion. But at least he wasn't replaced in the movie, and he actually takes over the movie from Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Because I was expecting like a solo where he's a complete loser. He just kind of gets sidelined in his own movie. I was expecting something like that.
I mean, that could have been the original
Daniel,
original
what were you
version.
saying? You're gonna ask me something.
well, no, I was gonna say the only thing I liked about this movie was that freakishly large henchman.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's like
It's just
all the other movies had that, but you can't have 80-year-old Harrison Ford fight him because he would crush him in half in like 2 seconds. He literally grab him and fold him into like a book.
Well, it's funny. Remember, he tried to get up, and like the guy just put him back in his seat. I think
Yeah.
he did it twice to him. It's like, sit down, old. It's like elder abuse we're watching.
Let's talk about Antonio Banderas, who was wasted in this film. He literally just shows up to get killed. It wasn't
well,
nearly as disrespectful as Felix Leiter, but it was like it felt like that from No Time to Die.
Well, at least Felix was an actual character. This guy just shows up and
Yeah, he gets kneecapped and he gets shot.
uh,
well that whole sequence bothered me. The scuba sequence.
oh yeah.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense where they kept on stressing they have 3 minutes to
Well,
do whatever they had to do.
the thing is like they talk about like either address all of it or don't because like they talk about 3 minutes and then it's like you'll die, but they don't talk about how like when it comes to scuba like can you go down that deep like there's also like time marks that people have to go down like 50 feet stop wait a couple minutes let their let their body adjust go down another 50. It's like they just drop right down and then like when they're in trouble they hit that button and it shoots them back
Yeah,
up
they
like
would die. They would
they all would
die.
have been killed instantly. And then also too, like the stupid moray eels, just to have the snake reference, I was like, oh my god,
Yeah, that
that
was
was so
pretty.
stupid. Because there was no payoff to them. Like they attack, like why would the eels attack them? But
I
it
think
was
the
just to
snake
be like,
joke.
oh,
Water
snakes in the
snakes,
water. I was
yeah.
like, oh,
I want to bring up, for some reason they want to bring up continental drift, but they know there's ocean drift, right? Like boats underwater don't stay in the same place. I don't think the people who wrote this knew that or know that it's a thing.
I don't think they did so either, honestly.
Because, that's why it took forever to find the Titanic. I mean, yeah, it's sunk, but it's
Well,
gonna
I
move
mean,
underwater.
the Titanic was also 13,000 feet below the surface, so nobody could get to it until they had the technology to do so.
Well, I mean, the point is, like, they could even know where it was. Even if they could get to it, they wouldn't know where it is because it moves. Like a Roman ship staying in place for thousands of years is even more ridiculous. Oh, it's in the same spot the whole time.
Is that actually a thing? Like it'll move that much?
It would move. I don't know how much it would move, but things do move. Like if it falls in the ocean, there's no guarantee. It's not going to go straight down. You'll get it like 1,000 years later. It's going to move.
I mean, yeah, I would figure like a couple thousand years.
well, the Titanic moved that much. I know you're saying about the technology, but if it still moved a lot in what,
I
how
don't
many
think that
years?
moved a lot though.
I think it did.
In 100 years?
Yeah.
Really? I don't have anyone to fact check that. I mean, it
Well,
sounds
point
right. I
is,
mean, yeah, I know what you're saying though. Like, did they just go like X marks the spot essentially, and they descend, and it's like right there. I think also what made this movie a slog too is that it was repetitive. They had two like generally the same action sequences with the chase scenes. The one in New York during the parade, and then the one in Tangier. They felt identical. And honestly, they should have just removed one of them. That's just me though.
so too. I mean, the like Indy getting framed for murder is like what? Like he clearly didn't kill the people. Like they have a CIA agent right there.
Yeah, that was dumb.
Like I know they were trying to help Nolan Werner von Braun, but still, it was just like I don't think you would let his henchmen just get away with murder. Granted, I know the CIA and FBI aren't
I,
great, but
I think I don't think you need that at all. You could have just had him trying to stop his goddaughter from selling it off. I think that's enough motivation for him to go. Like you don't have to like force him into
I
that
think
way.
also real quick in Tangier they had that one guy who was former lover of Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Just remove that. Why is that even
Well,
in
they
there?
they had like they kept that was the thing about her character that annoyed me was like she was like flirting with all these guys and like hinted like she had like like she was just getting all these guys. And I'm like, why is that there?
I think it's what the Captain Kennedy stand-in. They want to make just like yes, my character is loved by everybody.
Self insert.
I mean,
Mm.
I mean, at this point, it kind of is, right? Because all these characters that keep popping up look just like her.
Because they did it when she was on the ship with that one guy, the one of the divers. Like she was flirting with him a bit, and like there was another time she did like they were in public and like it's like when she was talking with the kid and like there's some guy who was like eyeing her up and she like went, I'm like, why is this here?
Yeah,
Like
remove that stuff.
yeah, like like did they watch any like that wasn't a part of Indiana Jones's character at all. Sure, he had a love interest in the movies, but at least Miriam was an established. They go back and they always had like kind of a thing, but he
They go back
chose his love.
further in George Lucas's original draft.
But he that was the whole thing with him is he had love interest, but he always chose his love for history and archaeology over them. You know,
I think also, I mean, I don't know about you guys. One of the things I did like in the movie, I thought was very dumb that they killed off Mutt, as we said earlier. But I liked the scene where he was talking to her about if he did have time travel, he would save his son. I was like, that was nice. I
Yeah, I
thought
think
that
it was
scene
for
was.
like
I
what
thought
30
that's.
seconds.
Yeah, I thought that scene was well done. It was 30 seconds or so, but I was like, oh, that's nice. I guess should we just talk about the MacGuffin for the film? It is
Yeah,
based
so
off a real thing, but the Archimedes dial is fake. So I think I said to Craig earlier this week, I was like, "Oh no, it's based off of something real," but no, it's made up.
yeah, I said no, no, no.
Yeah, yeah, Craig was right. George Lucas even said that you have to have like a MacGuffin that is rooted in some kind of like historical or archaeological or yeah,
Or
archaeological.
mythical.
Yeah, it has to be rooted in some kind of reality. And he even brought up the example of time travel, not to do that. And lo and behold, they do time travel. And I was expecting like a Back to the Future kind of like the thing would expand. I don't know. I was expecting something. I guess how they portray time travel would be something like that. I wasn't expecting like a fissure to form and they'd fly into it.
Well, again, like it gets even worse because it's like you said, like it's not even like just like you open a portal. Like it's literally apparently the way the Earth spins or whatever, like fissures open in the sky. And it's like what? It's stupid. And apparently the director was saying, "Oh, it's no different than the stuff we saw in the other movies." I'm like, yes, it is. It's completely different. Those are based off things that existed. This is not. So,
The other thing too is like they were yelling. Indy was yelling about the calculations, like as they're flying into it.
or the
Well,
continental drift,
yeah,
which
he
made
was
no
telling them that
sense.
yeah, I mean, I guess in the movie's logic, he was just saying that you're not going back to 1944. You're going anywhere but there, essentially. Like he was laughing at them like an old senile man.
Well, he was bringing up the point of continental drift, which doesn't make any sense. Like the continents drift like what over millions of years supposedly. It's not going to change over 2,000 years drastically. I mean, we know that for a fact. So
Yeah, well,
I
yeah,
have
he
no
was
idea what he
just
was
saying
referring
that
It
to.
just
it misaligned the dial's coordinates.
But wasn't that because Archimedes rigged it?
Well, they didn't know that.
Well, they didn't know that, but like Indy saying continental drift, like a different reason why it was misaligned, which is not the case. Like it sounded stupid.
Yeah, I mean that doesn't really
Well, it doesn't
bother
matter
me.
because I remember what he was saying. I'm like, I was like confused. I was like, well, that's clearly not true. Like that wouldn't cause you to go to a different time period or like go through a different portal or whatever. Whatever he thought was happening was not happening.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it doesn't really make sense how he would know. Like, how do they know like the coordinates go to a certain time period? How do they know that?
They kept referencing that crazy guy's notes, but I don't know.
Ah, so I guess you guys probably hated this part when they actually go back in time. I love and hate it too. It's very bizarre because they completely ruin history essentially because they go back in time to where was it Syracuse is getting invaded. It
Yeah,
was
the
like a
it
big.
siege of
was the
Syracuse by the Romans.
it was 214. It was the last
I
year
think it
of
was
the
two.
siege.
I think it was 212. It said two
Well,
twelve BC.
I thought they said they went back to 214, like the end of the siege.
Oh, I'm looking at
Yeah,
Wikipedia.
212 is the end.
So
Oh, I'm messing up. I
Yeah, because
flipped it. I'm
BC.
sorry.
they actually like I said, they actually go back in time, and then they're flying around in the middle of this big siege, and essentially they escape, and this big plane just crashes on a bunch of people.
Which again, you want to talk about messing with history? I mean, the Romans would have got a lot of useful information from that. Like, people act like people back then were dumb. They had to quickly realize that, oh, that was a plane. Because they made a point to say it was a dragon in the battle. Like, people back then aren't stupid. They would have quickly realized that was a plane. Like, I don't think they gave people back then enough credit. And seeing all a modern plane, I think they could have, made terrible
They would
weapons
have
from it.
known it. They would have known it was some form of technology. Like they would have known it wasn't like an animal. They would have known it was some form of technology.
Yeah, I don't know why people. Again, the things they do that just irk me.
So what's that time travel paradox? Or not even a paradox. It's some kind of loop, right? Because they found that watch early on in Archimedes' little tomb, and then that's how they surmised that the time travel and the dial worked. So what kind of loop is that called where it's always like going to happen?
think it's like predestination.
Hmm.
Yeah, it would be more of a predestination. Like no matter what, someone was always destined to do this, regardless of like events and everything, or when it comes to like free will or choice, something was always meant to happen,
I guess like
regardless.
it's like Terminator with or Kyle Reese going into the future, or yeah, no, going to the past. It's like it's always something that's meant to happen, I guess. And then at the end, old senile Indy, who got shot in the shoulder earlier, is begging Helena to let him stay in the period of Archimedes for whatever reason, because he feels like he has nothing left in his life.
It's like of all the places to go, do you want to stay there? Granted, he would have died probably immediately, bleeding out. But he does realize that the Romans probably would have just killed him. Like I don't think they would have kept him alive. Like doesn't matter what you said, and
Well,
they probably would have.
Archimedes, I looked it up. He died in this siege.
Well, yeah, the
Wait,
They weren't supposed to kill him, but they killed him.
yeah, because he said, "Don't touch my circles."
they just killed him on sight.
Well, because they said that they didn't know what he looked like, so they were trying to like, oh, who would be this great Archimedes guy? Not this weirdo drawing in the sand. He can be this great inventor.
I mean,
Which I
ignoring the
think that
fact that Indy being there, he probably would have brought modern day diseases that would have like wiped them all out.
These
Honestly,
people aren't smart, Colin. They can't think of stuff like that.
I just love that. Like, oh, you can't stay, you'll mess up time. Even though we just we just crashed this ship, this plane.
one part that did make me chuckle was when that one Nazi had like that big machine gun and he was just shooting at the boats and all the people.
Yeah, he was going really hard to like shoot out at these boats, and it's like, what are you doing?
It made me laugh.
Oh yeah, there wasn't the one like CIA guy. Like he took out his pistol, just shooting at the boats too. I was like, wait, what? I was like, why would you do that?
You realize how many boats there are?
Also, like their focus is on the siege, and you're trying,
Well, no,
the whole thing
the
of like,
the plane was getting shot at, but it's
Yeah,
like,
they're actually hitting the plane.
it's like if that's what you're worried about, then just fly up. I mean,
Yeah, I don't know why they're flying so low.
well, again, none of that stuff in this movie made sense.
So let's talk about the dial and how it's set to always come to 212 BC. That's really dumb. That they can't even really change it. It's designed to always go back to that time.
Well, they said Archimedes rigged it, right? So I imagine someone could rig it, but
Why didn't they rig it
you know,
before?
well, I guess they don't know how to. I mean, this is just
That's
what I'm
dumb.
trying to
That's dumb.
guess.
did they say why he rigged it like that?
To bring help from the future, I think.
Yeah, our movies didn't have subtitles, so we didn't see that part.
But they barely spoke in the movie too. At the end, yeah, because I saw it in the theater.
We saw in the theater with no subtitles.
Yeah, sure.
Craig, remember that guy got up and walked in front of us?
Very rude.
So at when Indy's begging Helena to let him stay, she knocks him out. She punches him right in the face, and then Indy wakes up in his dinky old New York apartment where he reconciles with Marion, and they kind of copy the Raiders scene when on the boat, where he says like, well, "Where does it hurt?" And then the movie ends with it irising out on Indy grabbing his hat
You
because it
see,
was
again,
drying.
I didn't like the ending either because I feel like it was clearly reshot.
Well, I'm sure. Okay, so I guess let's talk about what probably was the original version where Indy dies. Because I think, Craig, you said to me months and months ago that you read somewhere that he gets erased from existence to save Helena. Helena, whatever her name is.
Something to that effect, and then she had to replace him throughout history.
Yeah, and I'm
Maybe,
sure either. I don't know how involved Spielberg was, but maybe he put into it because he said years and years ago that he wouldn't kill off Indiana Jones when he was still doing the film. He wouldn't do that.
I mean, he was a producer, but I feel like, Kathleen Kennedy runs the show. if she wants to kill him off, like with the exception of like people above her like horrible test screenings, which I think that's what happened. Like this is horrible. Like, everybody hated it.
Just don't kill off his son and give it the mantle to his son.
Don't even do a mantle. At least they didn't do that. Just don't
It's
do a
not for the
mantle.
mantle. It's just like why do you have to ruin his life? Because like the ending just felt so weird because like Helena is still this horrible person. Why would Marion reconcile with him? Like, oh, what? She's like, you're back, and it's like, well, what does that mean? She never knew he left.
Also, too, like the reason they were separated or were in the process of like being done was because she couldn't get over the son's death. I don't think him coming back is going to change any of that. It's not
Well, I
like he
think
went
he
back in
said
time.
he turned to the books or his profession, and he became more distant.
Yeah,
Oh,
well, that's I know when he was talking to Helena about like, oh, if he could go back in time, he would save his son, and then like, she'd be like, how would you tell him not to go? And he was like, I would tell him like, his death is gonna like break his mother's heart, and then like essentially ruin our marriage. Like, so it was clearly like he couldn't console her, like, or whatever he was doing. It just wasn't. It was the son's death was too much.
but even then, like, say he does find the way to reconcile with her, right? Like, well, they didn't show us anything. She just shows up, and I guess everything's okay.
Yeah, like what was the point of them being separated?
Yeah, like I guess what
Yeah,
she need
that's
like a
not really
weekend to get
set
over
up
it.
or paid off.
See, at that point, I would have just said, I don't know if the actress didn't want to come back early or anything. If anything, like, all right, the son dies. Then how about you have those two go on an adventure, and during the adventure they reconcile their marriage.
Well, they already
That at
did
least
that.
is a
They
payoff.
already did that with the Crystal Skull, where they reconciled their relationship.
We'll do it again.
Again, another one. Like, because the ending felt people were like, oh, he got like a happy ending. I'm like, he got a
No,
horrible
he
ending.
didn't get a happy ending.
Like people tried to say, like I was reading through, and everyone kept saying, like people working on the movie saying the Crystal Skull, he did not get a happy ending. Like, in what world are you living on? That's not a happy ending.
Yeah, he
Got
married
his wife and
Marion.
his son.
He's gonna be a good father to his son now because he's telling him to go back to school and stop being a greaser.
Like it's the happiest ending you can get for this kind of character. Like he's settling down ish, has a family to take care of. He got to keep his job at the school. Like he wasn't a
He's got
Yeah, that
he's
was weird that he wasn't at Marshall College anymore. He was just
Tommy. Like I don't understand like how that's not a happy ending. This is happier. This hello?
yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
We still hear you.
Oh no, it sounds like your voice cut out.
No, I was just listening to you. Let us know how you
Oh.
really feel, Craig.
It's just everyone working on the movie, like they were just talking. Like they think if you just talk long enough, you'll forget like all the stupid things they say, or just you'll think that oh yeah, he's talking lots. He must know what he's talking. Like no, these people like everything they said was like stupid, and I felt going against what the series was for, and just trying to churn out another movie because well we have to. I already bought Lucasfilm. Indy's still alive. I don't want to waste like
You don't
put a
want
movie
Carrie
out before
Fisher.
he dies. Yeah.
I mean, I don't hate the ending. I mean, I don't love it. I don't really like it either. But like I said, my biggest fear was, oh, he was going to get replaced. At least it ended on him. That's all I will say. Because again, as you said, there was nothing with Mary and that interaction to show any proof of that. Oh, they're going to reconcile or whatever.
Well, I'm
Maybe you
saying
could.
even like
Maybe,
Helena too, like she's still this awful person. She's still gonna probably go back to selling artifacts. Like what has she done?
well, no one cares about her.
Well, the point is like she's probably the one that's gonna take over, right? Because
Well, not anymore.
you keep saying that, but doesn't matter how much money they lose, they keep making awful stuff. So
We'll talk about the box office in a second because that's a lot to discuss there. But what was I gonna say? Pointless cameos. They have Sala in the movie for whatever reason, just because I guess that guy's still alive.
oh yeah, and I guess like I think, oh, all the Indy's friends. What? No, he's the one that would be alive in the movie.
Yeah, because Marcus Brody's dead in the movies and in real life. Sean Connery passed away, and his character was dead before Crystal Skull. John Hurt, who played Ox, passed away.
But they would never reference that
They
movie.
would never reference that movie anyway. Yeah, I guess Salah's really all he has.
I mean, they could have brought back Short Round, but
I bet you they were probably really upset that they couldn't do that because the guy who played Short Round, I think his name is like Ki Juan. I'm not even gonna attempt that. I'm gonna butcher his name entirely. But he won an Oscar. He won Best Supporting Actor this year, and I'm sure the movie would have loved to cash in on that. Oh look, it's Short Round. He won an Oscar. He's all grown up. Even though it wouldn't make any sense that Short Round is there.
I mean, maybe not, but still, you know what I mean? Like, if they want to like throw in old cameos, like
Yeah.
the character would still be alive.
Oh, I doubt they would kill off Short Round off screen. What do you even call Short Round anyway, as an adult?
Well, he probably has a name, right? Like that we don't know
Oh,
about.
I mean, yeah, they probably make up a name. So, Craig, you want to talk about the villain? You said.
Yes, I mean, as a villain, he's whatever. It's more about, and the twist was, I didn't really care about the twist. I was like, oh, he's gonna take over Hitler and it's like, or whatever. But I hate the fact that they reused Nazis again and basically made Werner von Braun the villain. Because these people are incredibly stupid. They always talk about they want, I think the director said how the world has more shades of gray. It's not as black and white. When his understanding of the world is black and white. You take Werner von Braun, the guy who helped put us on the moon, and because he worked for he's a German man, worked for the German government in the 1930s and 40s, something most Germans did, and he thinks, well, you're a bad person for the rest of your life. Very smooth brain understanding of the world and people, and they think because I guarantee you that's they see Operation Paperclip had all these Nazis in the government, like all these were scientists who were just working for their government. And this is weird because it's such like a modern thing where other people would work for other governments during wars and like no one ever crucified them for it. Like
Craig,
it's
you're
just it's so
you're
weird.
spurging out again.
No, it's weird. These people are just very infuriating how stupid they are.
Well, the thing is too that aside from them mentioning it and the movie taking place during the 1969 they land on the moon, he had nothing to do. Like they showed nothing with him doing anything with NASA besides mentioning it. They showed nothing of that, and then it was just mentioned like, oh, you're going to meet the president or whatever. So they
Because it
easily,
was Werner von Braun. I mean, it was very painfully obvious comparison. It
oh
just looks
yeah,
stupid.
but still, it's like they obviously could have easily not done that. You could have just been Nazi guy wanting to get the dial and then just pretty much rewrite history and kill Hitler and not follow where the Nazis did or where Hitler did.
Just stupid. Like the whole reason that we have because they felt they had to reuse Nazis again. Like it's a Indiana Jones staple. Like he's adventuring in the 30s and fighting people who are collecting weird artifacts. Of course, it's gonna be the Nazis. It's not anything political or anything other than that's just what it made sense at the time. Like Crystal Skull, he fought the commies. He fought the Russians or the Soviets because those were the big
Russians.
bads at the time. Like they weren't because this feels definitely more like modern day influence than really no reason for it to be Nazis, like, other than the fact that they just really want to do it again.
Yeah, they could have done without the Nazis. But then again, I guess they wouldn't have had that exciting, I'm using quotes here, opening, very long opening where he fights Nazis. I agree that they shouldn't definitely not use Nazis again.
Like the war ended 25 years ago in the movie's timeline. Like why would they like people really would be holding on to that for 25 years? Like
So I think also the movie very much missed George Lucas's creativity and Steven Spielberg's magic touch. Spielberg is good at what he does for a reason, and this movie didn't have that fun sense of adventure that Spielberg was able to do in the first four movies. This movie feels very dour at times. There isn't any exciting action sequence. Even let's say Crystal Skull, the beginning, that whole chase, very exciting, very well done. Even when Indiana Jones is fighting with Mutt on the motorcycle in the streets of that college town, very fun, very well done. This movie doesn't have any of that.
I know people hate the one in the jungle too, but that also felt a little fun.
Well, that was all fine besides Shia LaBeouf riding with monkeys.
With the same haircut.
Yeah, that was a little silly. What about
Nah,
you,
I know what
Daniel?
you mean. Like it's very boring by the books.
You can, I mean, it's a shame because obviously they should have never done it, but they need Lucas and they need Spielberg. Those two made all those four movies together, and the fact that this is the only one that has like pretty much none of their involvement, it shows. It really shows.
Yeah.
What did you like about the movie, Daniel?
Honestly, really nothing.
Oh, jeez.
I told you the only part of it was just the hilariously large henchman.
You also like seeing Harrison Ford half naked.
No.
We'll take that as a yes.
Craig, what did you like about it?
Like nothing. Like even like the moment of like him missing his son. Like I always think of well, they killed him off to like be spiteful. Like I know what you mean. Like it's nice to see him like care about his son, but I just these people are just trying to be spiteful, kill him off.
It's weird. It's weird to think an Indiana Jones movie would have put me to sleep multiple times.
Yeah, that's like the sad part. So I don't know if you guys know this, but this movie premiered at Cannes, which is a very prestigious film festival where pretty much all those artsy films are debuted. Lucasfilm, being the geniuses they are, decided to have this film premiere at Cannes, and it was met with universal disdain. That's when the rating premiered on Rotten Tomatoes, and it was hovering in like the late 30s to early 40s range, like 44% it was at for a long time. Didn't have a lot of reviews, had like 40, 50 reviews, and it was like the 40%, 50 range. So, as I said earlier, this movie has a chance to be one of the biggest box office bombs of all time. It has a budget of $295 to $300 million. And right now, it's only been a couple days since it came out. It came out June 30th. It has grossed $142 million.
$142.
Yeah, could you imagine?
So
So
it was like only Colin's ticket.
yeah, yeah. It would need to gross at least 800 million just to break even, which I don't see that happening at all. They'd be lucky to even get to 300, 400 million. Obviously, in any other company this happens to, somebody is getting fired. But Kathleen Kennedy has like a bulletproof like vest. She is unkillable. She is unfireable. You can't get rid of her. And
The other thing too is like, it's not just like Lucasfilm that's losing money. Like
oh, Disney as a whole, yes.
it's tons of it is losing money. So like she could say, well, I may be losing money, but it's not as bad as the other departments.
I mean, this is on her hands though. She was almost directly responsible for this one.
But again, like she's been responsible for all these horrible movies and nothing happened. I mean, like I said, I don't think anything's ever gonna happen to her. She'd have to step down manually,
Yeah.
or not, like not step down, like retire, because I think nothing's gonna
I
happen to her. I
think the
mean,
movie could have done better financially if it didn't premiere at Cannes, which was over a month before it was supposed to release theatrically. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. That was a terrible, terrible idea. And it obviously backfired on them because all those negative reviews were coming out, and they're probably scrambling. They're like, "Oh no, what do we do? How do we salvage this?"
I don't think that really meant much. Because I mean, beyond people like beyond people like who talk about this stuff, like is the average person gonna like check the review for it? They probably are more like, oh, 80-year-old Indiana Jones.
I
I'll
mean,
skip that.
I think that's also a big factor. But you see in marketing techniques now where they say, "Oh, it's certified fresh. It's audiences love it." They even
Does that really
have
matter for people?
well, I guess for advertising, some people are easily manipulated. They probably see a good review on a movie and then they'll be like, "Oh, it's good. I'm probably going to see it." Obviously there's a lot more to that, but I do think that that does matter because why else would they advertise that? Like, "Oh, it's certified fresh." If no one looked at reviews, no one would care.
I mean, yeah, you're gonna say it's good, but like I always thought, like word of mouth mattered more.
I mean, when it was getting negative reviews, I guess that also scared off some people. This is the lowest rated Indiana Jones movie too, and it's gonna be the only one that that loses money.
I guess to me, I think the big turnoff was just
80-year
year old
old
Indiana
Harrison
Jones.
Ford. He did it well in Crystal Skull. He looked pretty good. He didn't sound as nearly as bad as he does now,
Look at he's old. Like,
and he was in
well,
his 60s for Crystal Skull.
not anything wrong with it, but I mean, he's old. Like, it happens.
If they wanted to do a sequel so badly, they should have done it at latest 2012, like 2009, 2010, 2011, when he's still in his 60s, not when he's 80.
It could have had Mutt been the new hero.
No, I don't. I disagree. I think
No,
they.
that was a joke.
I thought you meant. I thought you were being serious for a second.
Well, 'cause I know that was like their plan originally, but I think they backed off on it, right?
Yeah, it was also people just hated LaBouffe character in that movie too.
Which I get it. I understand that people didn't like him, but like he's a
I,
character in the movie. Also, people are so like allergic to recasting. Like you could have just recasted the guy.
yeah, they could have done that.
But Kathleen Kennedy, every hero has to be like looks just like her, has to be a female, all that stuff.
Has brown hair.
Yeah. No sons helping their fathers.
So what's weird is not weird, but I guess next time we gather, we are going to talk about the Flash. That movie's also a big box office bomb, which we'll get to in our next episode. But uh, June and July have just not been kind to movies. And I
Like what
guess
else has
one
come
thing I
out?
did want to talk about. Oh, I just remember too. The montage sequence. They've only did it once in the movie too. It looks so bad. The montage sequence when he's like flying around. They didn't do it the first time they traveled from point A to point B, but when they showed it, it looked so bad.
Like yeah, like on the
Like when
map.
he's traveling on the map and they showed that. It looks so bad in this movie.
I only remember it one time.
They did it, yeah, they only did it once,
Okay.
but it was so bad. It looked terrible.
Also, too, like they did it one time, and that was from what the
It was like in the middle of the
Aegean
movie. Yeah.
Sea to Sicily. Like it's so close. Why even have it?
Because I forget where they traveled to first. Was it New York to Tangier?
Yes,
It
then
was like
Tangier to
it
Spain.
was a hard cut. They didn't even show that. I said to myself, "Where's the montage? How do
Da,
you mess
da,
this
da.
up? This is like Indiana Jones staple."
Well, again, people who worked on this obviously don't care about it.
Yeah. They didn't have a fade in or like a fade from Paramount to like something looking like that Paramount Mountain, you know?
Yeah.
Like the fourth one had it transitioned to a gopher mound, prairie dog, whatever it was.
Very violent prairie dog.
So I guess also this is a common thing with movies now is that everything is so expensive. This movie
Okay.
has no business being $300 million to make.
Oh, it's because they reshot like probably a good chunk of
It was also because Harrison Ford got injured. Go figure. He's an old man,
it.
and because it was shot during COVID, so that just for the industry racked up all the prices. It is one of the most expensive movies of all time, too, because of that. It's just sad to see Indiana Jones go out like this.
No, 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 you shouldn't be sad. This is a better, happier ending than Crystal Skull,
It is not
according
good.
to people who worked on the movie and the director.
I wore a Raiders of the Lost Ark hat to the movie too. Felt ashamed walking out.
Oh yeah.
Someone just like, yeah,
I will say
come
though,
this gets.
the theater I saw it with, it was decently filled. There was
I
some
was
empty
just mean to
seats.
that one guy who kept walking in front of us.
Yeah. The Raiders lost our head. Sounds like he a nerd just pegs you with a soda.
I mean, I wasn't gonna dress up as Indiana Jones and carry around a whip with me and punch people.
I mean, that would have been more exciting than the movie.
Yeah. Any final thoughts? Is there anything else you guys
Or,
want to talk about with the movie?
or Craig, when the trailer comes on, Colin just turns trailers. I hate these guys.
We have top
Uh,
executives marketing these movies. Who? Top executives. I saw there was a trailer for the new Captain Marvel movie. I saw. It looked really bad.
Yikes.
It looked pretty bad.
Yeah,
what a
the
time
quick.
to be alive! What a time to be alive in cinema, man.
And those were too is they lose all this money, but somehow they're still all in business. Like they just won't die.
Yeah, I mean, because Craig, I don't know if you remember, we saw the fourth one in theaters, so I felt like
I do remember.
I had to see this in theaters. Felt like an obligation to. I owe it to Indiana Jones,
Had to get the high def for the bad CGI.
and then he disappointed me.
Well, I can't blame just him. You got to blame all the people making the big decisions.
Yeah, because I remember, Craig, do you remember that set photo we saw 2 years ago where it was Indiana Jones and whatever that guy's face is, Toby Shaw, Toby Jones. He's the guy that played Basil in the movie. The original set photo of Indiana Jones looking like an 80-year-old man in his typical costume next to him by like train pillars. That was in the beginning of the movie, and I'm thinking like, did they just straight up de-aged his face? Like they could have used body doubles, honestly.
Oh no, he thinks he's in the best shape of his life, so therefore they will let him do whatever
I
he
mean,
wants.
listen, he is in good shape for his age. I will give him that. Most 80-year-olds, if there are any, are like hobbling around in wheelchairs, so I'll give him that.
I guess it's not to take away from his physical appearance, but he's like you're an old man. Like there's limitations to what you can do. Like you trip, like you could break something. I trip, I'm fine.
I can eat a sugary donut. You can't. Yeah,
So
I mean,
I fully believe the leaks. You said about the expenses. Like I fully believe the leaks. I fully believe that's why it's so high.
yeah, they definitely probably reshot a lot.
Actually, I think we even have John Williams. I think he mentioned he was back recording stuff, music because they were redoing the ending. Like there's so many.
I guess to talk about his music in this film, it felt like he didn't compose any new pieces. It honestly felt like a best of Indiana Jones track from all four movies. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I
he is
mean,
old too. He is in his 90s. God bless
well,
him, but just felt like
but
he
I
kind of
think
phoned it
too is
in.
that like he probably I don't know if he composed any music, but I think they probably just reuse stuff because it's like, well, it's what people are familiar with.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so John Williams said that they they shot many endings, and James Mangold, the director, said John Williams is mistaken, and basically he's just probably lying to save face.
Yeah, I mean, I respected John Man, or what's his name? Is it John Mangold?
James?
James Mangold, my bad. I respected him before this, but the way he's handled this movie in the past couple of years, even people on Twitter saying like, "Why would anyone care about Indiana Jones 5 when he's 80?" And he was like lashing out at people.
Yeah.
He just comes across as a child, an immature child, not a filmmaker in his 50s. What
It's
are you
funny you mention
doing?
he's a child because I said he has a child understanding of the world, so thank you for backing me up.
Yes, yes. He also co-wrote the script too.
Yikes. Yeah, I don't believe him. I think
Yeah, he
John
definitely
Williams,
they
who
definitely
has nothing
reshot
to
it.
lose. Yeah.
And you know what? At the end of the day, it's whose word are you going to take? The guy who has a legendary, expansive career, or some schmuck?
Well, it's not even that. It's like, well, what does he have to lose by lying about this? He's like, yeah, I gotta go back to work and redo music because they keep remaking the ending.
Yeah.
First they goes, oh, I think, yeah, everyone knows that there were reshoots for it, and not even like traditional reshoots. Like they have probably did tons of stuff because everyone hated the original ending. So it
I
backs
wonder
up
if
my
there's
point.
any, like, was it screen test leaks? I wonder if there's any online on that.
I mean, there are, but it's leaks. You never know how true it is.
I mean, the leaks you showed me a bunch of months ago all turned out to be true.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like I know people say they must have reshot it because the ones the one we got with him losing his place in history,
Yeah. I mean, I guess we'll
and a lot of
wrap
that stuff too was matching up with like maybe the first half of the movie,
where
like
he
the
found
leaks I
out
remember.
place. Yeah. I guess we'll wrap it up, but me personally, I don't hate it as much as you guys. I do think it's better than the Disney Star Wars, and that's not a very high bar. That's like saying the bombing of Hiroshima wasn't as bad as Nagasaki because less people died, but it doesn't matter. Both are tragedies, right? Who cares? That's my approach to it. Like, damage is done, but it could have been so much more disrespectful, so much more worse. And this film also could have been a lot better. Oh, a lot. I can't stress how much better it could have been.
See, I
And
get what you're saying, but I think you just like indie too much and you don't want to like dump on it.
I do. Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of my favorite movies of all time, so I definitely love Indiana Jones more than you guys. So it pains my heart to see this.
Like I said, my heart was already turned cold because I for ever since it was announced I had no
Oh
expectations.
yeah, I mean, we've been saying this for maybe a year now because we, in our past episodes, we make side remarks about how bad of an idea this sounds. And lo and behold, we
Just
got
stay,
what we got.
just stay away from time travel. I feel like that's just such a simple solution.
You can do time travel right. It's just,
Not for
you,
this kind of movie.
yeah, you don't do it in something that was based off serial adventures of the 30s and 40s. Like, I think, not to go on a tangent, but for example, real quick, Back to the Future, that's obviously time travel done right. Avengers Endgame, that is time travel done wrong. And I guess all I'll say
Yeah.
about the Endgame time travel is that you don't establish rules of time travel just to have somebody disregard those rules later.
Oh,
You
come, wait till you
don't
see
do
The
that.
Flash.
Oh God, oh, yeah, I have to watch that.
Yeah, here in for a treat. Which should I say it, Craig? How I enjoyed the Flash more than Indiana Jones.
I mean, we'll
Yeah,
get to the Flash for next episode, but let's just finish our thoughts about Indiana Jones. Craig, what are your
Oh
final opinions?
oh my God, what are they doing to Indy?
Oh no,
yeah,
Daniel.
Colin. I wanted to ask you, Colin, how does it feel after for me seeing Thor: Love and Thunder? I guess this is your Thor: Love and Thunder. Just watching this shameful end to one of your favorite characters.
It's not shameful. It's bad.
This was
But
pretty shameful, Colin.
I mean, they almost ruined his like life. I think the only reason I got a happy ending because Evan was like probably wanted to strangle a director.
yeah, like I said, my point of view is that I was expecting a like nuclear disaster. I was expecting something really bad. I was expecting episode 9. Like I was expecting that. And it wasn't that. And obviously I don't love it, but I don't hate it too.
Like I said,
I,
I know what you're
I
trying to
think,
say. It's just
yeah, I got you.
Still bad.
I think, yeah, I think it might also be a little bit of cognitive dissonance, Colin.
Yeah.
You just can't accept it.
I would
Just
give it a
remember it.
solid 6 out of 10, I think.
No, come
Wow.
on. You described it worse than a 6 out of 10.
5 or 6. Because I think Raiders is a 10. Temple of Doom could be like maybe a 9. Last Crusade's like a 9.5. Fourth one could be a 7. 7.5, I think.
You only put this one point below Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Maybe Crystal Skull's an 8 in terms of Indiana Jones movies.
I
Yeah.
think you're being far too generous.
Yeah, I am being generous. Because, like I
Yeah.
said, they at least they didn't like just rag on him the whole movie. He actually did stuff, even though it wasn't what he did in the fourth movie, at least in terms of physical stuff. He took over the plot. He wasn't sidelined.
So I guess you're kind of the saving grace for the movie, or at least from your point of view, is they didn't. It wasn't like Thor: Love and Thunder where they just turned Thor into a complete
Yeah, I mean
joke.
that was
So it
just
kind of
horrible.
saves it, but the movie overall,
More
Yeah,
like
I
Luke
think
in
it was.
episode 8.
I can get that. I mean, I guess Indy himself was not completely destroyed, but the movie, I thought, yeah.
yeah, the movie's not good, but I'm willing to give it leeway because it's Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones. Thor: Love and Thunder was a disaster for so many reasons.
I, I think I might just stop watching movies the day that they ruin Fast and Furious.
No,
That
they
would
can't
be.
ruin that.
Like,
Them ruining it makes it better.
they keep it's a
To
yeah.
cult cars.
Yeah, my final thoughts. It's just a bad ending to a great franchise, or a disappointing ending to a great franchise.
Everyone owes George Lucas, not us, but everyone who bullied George Lucas into selling his own company should apologize.
Well, it's like that old saying, right? Like, it can always get worse.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's on some private island laughing, just like, "Yep, I was right," with all his billions of dollars, just laughing,
He's
like,
probably
"Yep,
in a
that's
mall
all right."
food court right now.
Because no one's gonna attribute these bad movies to him anymore. It's not him.
Yeah.
Oh, to
He's
me,
in
like,
a
it's
mall,
just like.
he's in a mall food court.
You ever see that video where or it was a picture I think where these people in suits approach him in a mall food court. He's probably eating P.F. Chang's. And he's like a Diet Coke.
Just laughing menacingly.
I think it's just those people who hate George Lucas. I mean, listen, I think the prequels are so bad in comparison to Indiana Jones 4. I think Indiana Jones 4 has its problems, as we talked about. It starts off really good, really great, actually, and then just kind of nosedives in the second half of the film. But I think Indiana Jones 4 is so much better than the prequels. I'm sure you guys would probably agree.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't say I cared much for the prequels, but.
Part
I
time.
mean, that's yeah. What was it?
Like I said, it can always get worse. People think, can't get worse. Sell it to George. It can't sell George. Get rid of it. It can't get worse, right? Oh, it got much, much worse.
Well, at least no one can touch Indiana Jones because obviously they're going to wait 10 years after Harrison Ford dies before they can reboot something. But Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones, and Indiana Jones is Harrison Ford. You can't have one or the other. You have to have both. It's not like James Bond.
What's in it?
No,
They
it's
want to
not.
turn it into James Bond.
No, leave Indiana Jones alone. This is
Oh,
it.
they're
Five,
coming for him.
4 was enough. You could argue 3 was enough. 4 was definitely enough. This is unnecessary.
Carl, you know that it they're gonna do it anyway. Like they have no respect for that. In fact, they'll do you one better. They'll recreate it with AI, so they don't even
Oh
have to bring back
no.
any actor. They'll keep them
Oh
alive
no.
and keep pumping out movies.
No. Well, the biggest takeaway is that this movie will never be able to take away from Raiders of the Lost Ark and all those other movies.
True. I mean,
It's sad to like this is the end of an era for it's Harrison Ford's official last movie at least after the fourth one. Oh, maybe we'll do a fifth one. It's his last, so I guess it's like the end of an era.
who
That's
knows?
why
Maybe there'll be
I
a
guess
sixth
that's why
one.
it was like it was a nice goodbye, even though it could have been so much better.
I think it also helps too. It's like there's like 15 years, like 20 years between the fourth to the third and the fourth to the third. What am I?
You okay? It is
Yeah,
19 years between the third and fourth one. And it was 15 between this and the
yeah,
fourth one.
yeah. So I think there's enough time that it's like you almost like the trilogy is its own thing, and then the next two, it's like they're their own thing too. So they've like been separated enough where it's like they don't taint the original ones in any way.
Yeah, I agree. At least it's not Star Wars and how they ruined that. That's my last thought because we're rambling and reminiscing.
Yeah. The next big news: J.J. Abrams is gonna do the reboot for
Oh
Indiana Jones.
no! Stop. Well, I'm excited for our next episode. We're going to talk about the second biggest box office bomb of almost ever. Honestly, that's going
It's
to
a
be
race to the
fun.
bottom.
Real quick, I saw a article saying that in 1989, Batman, like Michael Keaton and Harrison Ford, were battling for box office supremacy in 1989, and now they're battling for like second to last place in 2023.
It's a race to the bottom.
Well, we've gave our final thoughts, so I think this is a good way to end. We have been the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. Of course, I am Colin.
I'm Craig.
And
Yes.
I'm Daniel.
And we'll see you next time for the Groomer, I mean, the Flash.